They say time waits for no man. But on Saturday in Riyadh, Roman Reigns proved he is time itself. He didn't just win the Rumble, he reminded us that the island of relevancy has no vacancies. But while one king reclaimed his throne, a phenomenal one took his final bow in WWE. Gunther didn't just beat AJ Styles, he dismantled a legacy. The road to WrestleMania 42 hasn't just started, it's already covered in blood, tears, and a whole lot of questions. We are reviewing the good, the bad, and the heartbreaking of Royal Rumble 2026. This is your Pro Wrestling Escape. All right, everybody, welcome back to this week's edition of Pro Wrestling Escape. We are going to break down Royal Rumble 2026 and the fallout of it. But first, this week in WWE history. February 3rd, exactly 37 years ago in 1989, the most famous tag team implosion in history happened live on TV. Pretty sure it was NBC. Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage versus the Twin Towers. Wasn't just a match, it was a soap opera masterpiece, if you will. Miss Elizabeth gets hurt. Hogan leaves Savage high and dry to carry her to the back. I think we all remember that moment. And the Macho Man just snaps. The backstage slap heard around the world set up WrestleMania 5 and created the blueprint, I think, for every best friends turned bitter enemies storyline that we see today. All right, now we're going to get into the main event. We're going to break down each match and kind of the fallout and see how that leads to the road to WrestleMania. The first match we have is Gunther defeating AJ Styles. Let's get right into it. It really wasn't a match. It just felt like an execution. Like Gunther is now arguably the biggest heel in the industry, retiring AJ Styles. It just felt final, and I think for Gunther, it gives him really nuclear heat heading into Mania. He plays it well. You know, you had the "you can't see me" thing with John Cena. Um, this past week on Raw, he came out to AJ Styles' theme song. Everybody kind of had a moment like, "Oh my gosh, AJ's actually not gone," and walks out Gunther. But first, we need to nod to AJ. He could have been the best wrestler of the 2010s, going out on his back to put over the next monster. Traditional, it's selfless, and that is 5 stars. Obviously, it's not a passing of the torch so much, but it kind of felt like it in a weird way. It was heartbreaking, but I think that's just the way he wanted to go. And I do think, moving forward, I think we're going to see AJ Styles in other professional wrestling rings. Obviously, the rumors are hot with TNA for obvious reasons. New Japan is a big one. And a lot of people think Tony Khan at AEW is going to float a chunk of money towards AJ to get him to come over there for at least a few matches. Any ring that has AJ Styles in it, I will watch it. I'm not an AEW sicko by any means, but I appreciate great wrestling, and that is who AJ Styles is. Now, for Gunther, we shall see. I mean, he obviously didn't win the Rumble, and we'll get to that part later in the show. We'll see where his road leads to. I really don't know. I don't know. I'll have to look at the roster, see who's up in age and who may possibly be retiring, because maybe there'll be another retirement match at WrestleMania. Who the hell knows? But man, it's quite a storyline for Gunther. All right, so now let's get into the women's rumble. You had the good, the bad, and let's crack it open. So this match I thought had some serious moments, some serious peaks. But for me, I'm gonna address the low light, the elephant in the room. Me personally, it was the Bella twins. Now look, I respect the Hall of Fame hustle, everything that they did prior to. I think that it was like the Diva era, and the booking, I absolutely hated it. Probably because I did not want them to come back. And they didn't just come back in for a fun pop. They let them eliminate Bayley and Lyra Valkyria, which to me, that really kind of annoyed me. I know I got to suck it up as a fan, whatever. There's moments as wrestling fans that we're gonna love, we're gonna hate, we're gonna question. I question this, and I absolutely hate it because we all know on this past Monday Night Raw that they said that they're gonna go for the tag team title. So we're going to see more Bella twins, so I'll have to deal with that. But let's just see. You have a role model. You have Bailey. You have Lyra, who I think has been tearing it up lately. And just to get tossed by, I now call them part timers. The crowd loved when they came out and they're doing the yes chant, which is not their chant, but whatever. I know Brie is married to Brian Danielson. I get it. Just, I felt like a step backwards for women's wrestling. I really do. And if you're going to bring legends back, they really shouldn't sacrifice the workhorses. Take out some of the young talent or the talent that never really gets over. But all right, enough of the negative. The highlight, the future, Ruca. Wow. Came in at number 14, stayed in up until the last three, and definitely looked like she belonged in the main event of WrestleMania. I mean, the snatch slam finisher, her athleticism. I mean, I think she could have been the MVP. And if I'm buying stock, I'm buying Ruca stock right now because she's got to be on the main roster. If and when she is, she will probably arguably be the best female wrestler they have on that roster. But it came down to the perfect final two, I think, in my opinion. Liv Morgan and Tiffany Stratton. Tiffy time almost struck midnight. Liv getting the win, I think, was the right call here. It gives Liv the ultimate, I think, baby face momentum, if you will, because the crowd absolutely loves her. And it still protects Tiffany. It doesn't look bad on her part. She just came back. It just looks like she got outsmarted. And I will say the final three between Sol Ruca and obviously Tiffany Stratton and your winner Liv Morgan, their sequence together, especially outside the ropes, that was fantastic. And they executed that beautifully. So kudos to them. Kudos to Liv Morgan. And pretty sure this past week on Raw that she, without saying it in so many words, that she's going to choose Stephanie Becker to go against at WrestleMania. But we'll see. And if she does, she will win that title at WrestleMania. I have no doubt in my mind about that. All right, next up, let's get into the men's rumble. You had the you had a lot of meat, you had a lot of yeets, and then we're gonna talk about the final four. Yeah, I did actually write that down. Sorry, I thought about it. I thought it was spontaneous. Now that I'm saying it, sounds ridiculous. But anyways, so the men's rumble, chaotic masterpiece at times, with some pretty heavy implications. The next big thing. First off, we got to talk about the number one entrant, Obafemi. Man is a mountain. He is the mountain if you think about it. And the tease of the night was him and Brock Lesnar going back and forth, staring at each other, and then the crowd wanted them to collide, but they kept getting interrupted by other wrestlers trying to make a name for themselves. Brilliant booking, I think, in that regard. We never got that full explosion. I'm really hoping it's hinting at a WrestleMania matchup. Um, but just seeing Femi hold his ground, not really hold his ground. I mean, he did whatever he wanted in that ring, and that was I'm a huge fan of his. So this NXT talent is taking up this episode of the podcast. So Ruka, now Obafemi. But let's kind of rewind back to the number two entrant. You had Braun Breaker. Now, we all know he didn't make it to the ring until he was attacked by another masked man. I did put out my top three prime suspects, and looking back, I probably would have switched a few, but I'm going to stick with it. Number one, I thought it was Seth Rollins. I think he is going against his own group. I think he's forming another group. Will I be wrong? I don't know. Will I be right? Who knows? Number two, Adam Pierce, obvious choice. Obviously him and Braun have butted heads over the past, pushing each other. And I know Adam Pierce will not get into the ring and probably fight him, but at the very least, I could see him orchestrating that. And then number three is definitely kind of a joke, but at the same time, I want to force the issue. Chris Jericho, code breaker on Braun Breaker. That was my only rationale on that. But just, I think, I don't know. I had Braun Breaker winning the thing, and here he gets the first one eliminated. But it's going to create another big storyline, and really it's just delaying the inevitable. Braun Breaker is going to get that top title at some point. So I think they're just giving him more work, more storylines, and I think he's handling it really well. So we'll have to see what happens with that. But then I do think the viral moment of the men's rumble, kind of a low spot, also kind of funny, when Jey Uso came out, you know, and his entrance, right? He's coming down the ramp, which to me is ridiculous for a Rumble match, but hey, whatever. Call me a hater, whatever you want. I'm kind of over it, honestly. I still like the song. I still like that it hypes up the crowd, but it's still Jey Uso. It's whatever. I'll save that rant for another time. And the moment of the night, though, the low light for me was Brock Lesnar gets eliminated in the middle of the Jey Uso entrance. And I just you got the yeet going on. It's chaotic, and all of a sudden the quick camera pan, LA Knight and Cody Rhodes take out Brock Lesnar. I'm just like, wait, hold on, what just happened? And then the yeet's still going on. And I'm going nuts. I mean, my brain just was getting so distracted and like, wow. And it felt very underwhelming. Commentators kind of just didn't even mention Brock again. And so the beast got taken out by a yeet. Just some call it genius, some call it stupid. I don't know. It really was a lot to unpack there with like that 3 second span. Like, oh, everybody's in the yeet. Oh, wait, Brock Lesnar just got to eliminate. Oh, back to the yeet. Anyways, um, and then we have to talk about kind of the screw job here. We got to talk about Cody Rhodes. And I know it's time for other top guys to step up. Cody's been up top for a while. But, he's looking for the three-peat, and if you think about it, if you watch any of the pre-show, they were heavily teasing that three-peat, Cody, three-peat, and I thought it was gonna happen because I feel like sometimes WWE paints themselves in a corner where, "Alright, well, we're kinda telling the fans what's gonna happen, and we're still gonna do it." But they didn't, and that's what they're great at. Sometimes they swerve us, sometimes we do guess right, so I don't wanna always be right 'cause then that makes it obvious and predictable, right? Then Drew McIntyre shows up out of nowhere, kicks Cody in the head, and Cody's out. And which to me, by the rules, seems kinda odd that he can't just get back in there, but whatever. It just he costed, Cody that third title shot at WrestleMania. Just the heat on Drew is gonna be pretty nuclear. I do think it sets up for him and Cody, having a match at Elimination Chamber. We'll see. And if that match does happen, don't be surprised if Cody wins. And then whoever wins the chamber will pick Cody. And don't be surprised if that match between McIntyre and Cody Rhodes happens before the chamber match, and that loser, who I think would be Drew McIntyre, gets into the chamber and then wins that. I know it's fantasy booking, whatever you want to call it, but I can see that happening. I would be okay with it. All right, now with Cody gone, and then when we boil it down to the final four, you had Roman Reigns, you had Gunther, you had Randy Orton, and you had Logan Paul. You had the 2 veterans, uh, Randy and Roman. You had the Ring General, which he is a veteran, but then the ultimate pest, Logan Paul. And I don't know, for me, seeing Roman Superman punch Logan Paul out of the ring was kind of cathartic. I actually am a big fan of Logan, but Logan sells the crap out of everything. Like he does such a good job at it. And then Gunther disposing of Randy. And then, of course, the finish. It came down to Roman and Gunther and the tribal chief versus the ring general. And after a brutal back and forth, Roman Reigns tossed Gunther obviously out of the ring to reclaim his spot at the head of the table, the island of relevancy, whatever you want to call it. So I do think a lot of the storylines are setting up for WrestleMania 42. You have Liv Morgan chasing that destiny, which I do think she will get at WrestleMania 42, barring any kind of injury setback. I hate saying that, but some of these wrestlers, once they start getting injured, it just doesn't stop. Then you got Roman Reigns reclaiming his throne. We all know this past Monday Night Raw, he came out and he chose CM Punk. If you have not watched it, go back. You want to talk about cinema between promos? I think it's about 10 to 12 minutes. I mean, you're just locked in. The crowd was not even chanting. That's how locked in they were. And they were in Philly. And Philly is not the type of crowd that stays locked in. They are insanely wild. And then you had AJ Styles riding into the sunset for Royal Rumble. So, all in all, I would say Royal Rumble 2026 was I'll give it a B minus, if you will. And I will say I didn't realize how long it was until it ended. It was almost 4 hours. And I think and I've told everybody before on this podcast before, but Royal Rumble is by far my favorite pay-per-view or PLE, whatever you want to call it. It just doesn't even come close. WrestleMania will be number 2 for me, but Royal Rumble, I'm always locked in. I was even locked in 2015 when Roman won, and I was one of the fans booing at home. Actually, I was at a sports bar watching it, I think. But yeah, so Royal Rumble, I will forever love. But thank you guys joining for me on this episode, and please, if you enjoy this breakdown, if you enjoy the previous episodes, please do me that huge favor. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, just scroll down, leave whatever star review you want, 1 to 5. If you're still listening, it would help me if you give me a 4 or 5 star review. Helps grow the show more than you know. And if you're on Spotify, hit the follow button and you'll never miss a Fallout. Now, here's the real thing. I want you to let me know your reaction to the Bella twins. Send me a DM. Let me know if you're a fan of them coming back or not, because I have another a reaction reel coming out next week, giving my true thoughts on it. And hopefully, I'm not too abrasive in it. Anyways, this has been your Pro Wrestling Escape. And remember, do not work yourself into a shoot. All right, I'm out. Have a great week, everybody.